everyone, it's LadyJenevia. Today's video is going to be a quick review of The Boys Season 2, Episode 5 with spoilers. As always, if you have not already seen my other videos on the show, I will put a link to a playlist of all of them up in the card, as well as in the pinned comment of this video. Before I jump into Episode 5, I wanted to first mention one point that I, for some reason, forgot to write down when I was scripting my review of Episode 4 that I posted last week. When Becca was talking with Butcher about why she cannot run away with him, she was explaining that even if they were to bring her son, she felt very strongly that Butcher will find a way to force him out. She went on to emphasize how important she is to raising her son and keeping him from turning out like Homelander. I don't necessarily believe that she knows the full extent of what happened to Homelander in his upbringing, but we as an audience do have that information. If you will recall, at the end of Season 1, Homelander had that stern talking to from the Vought higher up. I think I have the clip, so I will try to insert it here.
When I raise subjects without their mothers, they become violent, aggressive, downright hateful.
So what Becca was saying was a clear callback to what the show has already established, that you cannot grow a superhero in a lab without that parental affection. I almost said maternal, but really it just needs to be some sort of loving parental figure to nurture you. They have to help you develop emotionally and foster empathy, which we can clearly see Homelander lacks. Moving on to Episode 5 now, I don't want to talk about the Deep. I just don't. Not on his own anyway. He's married now, apparently, and I don't care at all. I already said that I think it's interesting that they're choosing to use his story to present a satirical version of a certain religion, but I don't want to discuss that in depth because I don't want to end up on a list. What I did find interesting with the Deep, however, is that Maeve has decided to recruit him to her cause, which is to take Homelander down. I have been waiting for her to hit her breaking point and decide to go after him since more or less the very beginning of the show. I still don't think we have a clear gauge on how strong she is if she were to go full out with her powers and have to fight him, but this is really where the fun begins. You can't just have her wake up one day and try to defeat him in a fight. No, she needs to do some politicking and strategizing. We're going to see Maeve scheming to take him down. Build up the tension before they have that real confrontation. We also saw the corporatization of the LGBT+ community. We saw biphobia. Every week I'm so impressed with how smart the show is. They know exactly what issues ostracized demographics face and the right way to address those issues in the material. Eric Kripke's repeated referencing of Zack Snyder's DCEU is very welcome to me as a viewer. The Dawn of the Seven is clearly a BVS reference, and now he chose to take a dig at Joss Whedon for doing bad rewrites. You can tell Eric Kripke has a good grip on that entire situation, since it was A-Train who had his arm twisted by way of being bound by a contract into doing material he did not believe in. I'm not going to rehash the entire Justice League debacle, but if you know, you know. Mother's Milk is a fan of Outlander. Didn't know that was something that I needed, but I am so glad that we now have this information. This episode we had Mother's Milk and Huey teaming up to try to help Butcher because he's in a bad place, mentally speaking. Him being well behaved is a clear sign that something is wrong. So Butcher goes to see his aunt, and what I really want to know is, why is the one consistent weak spot of The Boys as a show the fact that they are apparently incapable of hiring anyone that can do a proper Cockney accent? I have yet to hear one on this show that has ever sounded correct. To all the Cockneys out there, I'm so sorry that your own industry tends to treat you as second-tier talent, and then whenever Hollywood decides to do something with a Cockney character, they don't bother to pick up the phone and call you. Since it's been revealed that Butcher had a younger brother, I'd be interested in seeing whether or not they will do any flashbacks to the two of them at a younger age to further flesh out how it was that Butcher came to be this angry, vengeful person that we know him as. It's always interesting to me to dig into the psychology of a character and any inciting incidents in their lives that might have shaped who they are. I'm very intrigued by the nonchalant manner in which Stan Edgar spoke to Butcher on the phone, and I'm also impressed that Butcher was able to bluff his way out of the predicament the boys were in when being attacked by Black Noir. That does beg the question, though, of how you're going to get all of the 7 to comply with that. I cannot really imagine Homelander wanting to be told what to do by anyone. He probably could be manipulated, though, presumably by Stormfront. I wasn't surprised that he sought help from her to work on mending his reputation in the court of public opinion. It's very clear that that was what was being set up as far as their dynamic goes. I was, however, surprised that they hooked up this soon. I thought that it would take a bit longer for them to get there. But then again, there are only 8 episodes this season, so there is no room to waste any time. Just as I would have guessed, their hookup was depraved, disgusting, and one of the worst things I've seen on this show to date. I'm putting it into the same folder as the Gills incident. Stormfront continues to be the worst. She just keeps making these little comments that are super racist, and I'm just waiting impatiently for Kimiko to get revenge on her. I like that Starlight is standing up to her, but I don't like that they had Starlight guessing her password. That's a real pet peeve of mine, where people are able to just look around a person's computer and look for clues, or perhaps they will use their personal knowledge of a person's character or interests to guess what their password is. When are passwords ever that obvious? I know that dumb people will pick password as their password or QWERTY, but in general, that just doesn't make sense. And if you think I'm nitpicking, you're entitled to your own opinion, just like I am entitled to think that having characters be able to guess a password that they don't know is just dumb. So I suppose now is as good a time as any to talk about my poor sweet babies Frenchie and Kimiko. Just when I thought they couldn't outdo themselves when it came to Kimiko's destructive power, she went and ripped a man's face off. Incredible. Stunning work. I was surprised that they still had Karen using this new sign language that they have created for her. I suppose it wouldn't make much sense for her to have gone through all of that work just to throw it away after the season 2 premiere. And it is nice to give her a voice in a way that at least the audience is able to understand her. But do I really think it makes sense for Frenchie to get as mad at her as he did? Not really, but clearly these writers are very determined to legitimize them being away from each other, even though I am just waiting for the bazooka scene. I'm here for supportive boyfriend Frenchie helping his heart to get armed to the teeth to take down a fascist. That's what I am waiting for. I think that overall the episode was solid, but the problem that I had with it is that since they changed to having the series air on a weekly basis instead of dropping the entire season at once, that is a bit of a detriment, and I'll explain why. The Boys is a show that is very good at tending to the stories of many characters in a large ensemble. So when you have just one episode to look at, the material starts to feel sparse because you can only give so many minutes to each character in a single hour. This episode had some great things in it, but this was the first time that it felt more like a sample platter than anything else. Episode 4 had a certain emotional intimacy with the characters that was refreshing, so it didn't matter that there wasn't as much plot as there normally is. Moving forward, if they don't want to drop an entire season in one go, I think that they should consider doing something like a double release each week. So if it ends up being 8 episodes in a season, we could get 2 new episodes per week for an entire month, and then it would be more like giving the audience an entire 2-hour film of material to digest while they wait for the next one. It feels like there's a lot left for the show to get through in just 3 remaining episodes of this season. We've already got another season on the way, but I will just have to hope that episode 6 will get on with things a bit more than they did this week. Make no mistake, I still say The Boys is one of the best shows on television at the moment, and I am looking forward to seeing what's coming in the rest of the season. I know this review was a bit shorter than my other ones, but hopefully you enjoyed it nonetheless. If you are one of my regular viewers, I am getting really close to finishing my Knives Out video. I've got about an hour and 10 minutes done. I need to finish up some last bits on it. It's going to be the biggest project I've ever done so far on my channel, and hopefully some of you will enjoy it. If you are new here, feel free to subscribe and follow me on social media. Everything is listed in the description box. See you in the next one. Bye.